to elaborate a little bit more on Marquette. Both Marquette and Providence are replacing superstars in Devin Carter and Tyler Kolek, who were just two of the best point guards in college basketball, period, last season, and both of whom are going to be playing in the NBA next year, assuming Devin Carter's shoulder gets back to the point where he can play. Um, who is in a better position to replace those two? Fanta.
Uh, Restate the question.
Who did Tyler Kolek's gone, Devin Carter's gone, Providence and Marquette both lost a superstar point guard. Who are you betting on to have a better season, I guess? Who's better positioned to replace their superstar?
I would say Providence. I would say Providence is in a better position. Look, Marquette has terrific roster continuity, and that's a very nice trait to have in this climate. I also just wonder if maybe getting a transfer or two would have helped this team be in a better place than where I think they're going to be this season. I'm just wondering if they have enough to be able to do the things that they want to do. Doesn't mean that they can't, and I think Cam Jones is one of the best players in the Big East, and I like David Joplin and Ben Gold, but with Providence, they cleaned up. They had a priority list. They got Wesley Cardette from Chicago State, Jabri Abdur-Rahim from Georgia. Bensley Joseph comes in from Miami. Not to mention Jaden Pierre's back. I think if Pierre can be consistent, then last year Carter had to play more point. He was like a combo of a 1 and 2 doing both jobs for Providence throughout much of last season. They relied on him to do so much. I think what the question is, Tyler Kolek, it's hard to fully duplicate his numbers of efficiency. It's hard to duplicate what Carter did because Carter was the best player in the Big East. But the way I look at the question is, which team is better positioned to potentially fill what that person did? And I think it's Providence because of the amount of roster reinforcements they got and the fact that Bryce Hopkins is back. And if Bryce Hopkins is healthy and playing to the level that he's capable of, he's one of the best players in the Big East. So I'm going to say that the Friars are better positioned to replace what they lost. I think Marquette's going to have to be very, very different, having lost Tyler Kolek, because Kolek was just such an efficient point guard. And it's impossible to expect that same level of efficiency from somebody that's now on this roster.
Can I push back? Because I actually disagree. I think that it's Marquette. And that's not to say that I don't think that Providence is going to be good, because I think that they're a tournament team. I think that they're a top 30 to 35 team in America. But I think that with Cam Jones coming back, I fully expect him to, one, step into the point guard role this year, and two, put together a season that puts him in the mix for like first team All-American, Big East Player of the Year. Kind of, I've heard really good things about him coming out of Marquette from the summer and the fall. The other part of it is your boy Ben Gold, T.O., I think is going to have a monster season at the 5. He's been shooting the hell out of it throughout the kind of the summer and the fall. And if he's making shots and you got David Joplin making shots, like all of a sudden you're going to have to make real decisions on how the hell you're going to guard this team. Now,
well, I was actually going to ask you, like, who is a bigger loss, Tyler Kolek or Oso Ighodaro?
I mean,
like I thought, I think Oso Ighodaro, for what he was able to do, from a passing perspective, kind of being, the fulcrum where that offense, like Tyler Kolek could just get rid of it and then pick his spots. Like Oso Ighodaro was incredible at that 5 spot for what they like to do and playing so open. I mean, it's going back to what your question was, Marquette or Providence. They do it in completely different ways, but I'm curious about more so the 5 spot at Marquette, because that could change basically how they operate if Ben Gold's hitting shots, like you said.
Yeah, I think that you're 100% correct about Oso. He's awesome. I think Kolek's the bigger void that they have to fill. I think that it is easier to fill that when you have Cam Jones, if that makes sense. But I love Cam Jones. I love the combination of Stevie Mitchell and Chase Ross kind of being the head of the snake defensively. Sean Jones, if they're there. The one question I would have is, like, which one of the youngsters is going to be able to step up and kind of be the rotation guy, right? Like you got the 3 sophomores and a couple freshmen coming in this year. Like you're going to have probably 2 or 3 of those guys be able to play 15 minutes a game in the Big East, which is, I mean, that's a big ask, but I'm at the point where I just trust Shaka's player development within this system, and I think they're going to find a way to figure it out. And I think the best player out of those 2 groups is going to be Cam Jones. So I'll ride with Marquette here. T.O., be the tiebreaker. You got to make a decision.
Who's more prepared right now? It's Marquette, because Kolek missed games at the end of last year, so they kind of had a preview of what was going to happen. So that's a big thing. Who I think reload, like, I'm not saying Marquette's right. I'm not saying Providence is like, but Providence.
You just said Marquette's right. You said Rob is smarter than Fanta. That's what just happened.
I do like the pieces that Providence added in the backcourt, because you add 2 different kind of guys with Bensley Joseph and Wesley Cardette. Cardette's a bucket, and he's a bulldog and pit bull in how he does it. Not quite the shooter that Devin Carter turned himself into, but at the same time, he scored everywhere he's been. He was at Samford and Chicago State, but he coming out of high school, he's a top 60 recruit in the country. So this is a super talented kid. Fernandez comes back. He's going to be able to space the floor a little bit, be a defensive guy. I like all these pieces that Providence added. Jabri Abdul-Rahim's going to be able to play his role. He's a Northeast kid. He gets to go back up in that part of the country. I think he's going to have another good year. As far it's to me, these 2 guys are apples and oranges. Like I think somebody from Marquette's going to step up, whether that's Sean Jones, whether it's Trey Norman could step up and have a bigger role. It's apples and oranges, but I think both of them piece together things that are going to work in their own favor. But Cam Jones, is he going to, like, balancing scoring 25 points and getting 6-7 assists? That's a tough thing to do. So somebody's going to have to take a little bit of that scoring load off of him. And is he willing to let them do that? Like that's another piece of it. And Shaka's going to, get that into him going into the season. But still, I mean, you need him to be your bucket, because he is your bucket. Who's going to be that other guy that kind of just at least gets it up the floor? Give my man a break.
I think there's layers to the argument. I think it's 2 separate questions of who's better positioned to fill what they lost versus who we think will be the better team. And when it comes down to it, no one's going to do what Tyler Kolek did, and nobody on Providence is going to have the exact season that Devin Carter had last year. My concern with Providence is just, and I had this concern last year, I ended up eating my words, it is the front court. Josh Oduro last year, I wasn't sure if he'd be able to handle the load, and he did. I mean, he handled it with flying colors. This year, can Crease DeSandico come in from St. Joe's and play the 5 and do it at a high level? Whereas Marquette, like, I know what I'm getting from Joplin, and I think I know what I'm getting from Ben Gold. And I expect, like you said, for Chase Ross and Sean Jones and Zayd Lowry and Trey Norman to deliver. And they bring in a couple of freshmen as well, Royce Parham. And then look out for Caden Hamilton as well.
Yeah, so, who redshirted last year smartly, and he could have an impact as well. I like that call, Fanta.
Yep. Christ,
and Tom Bonk. Don't forget Bonk.
Yeah, you got to
feel like we just have to mention Bonk. He's massive. He barely played at his Eastern Arizona Community College, wherever the hell he was. He's massive. He's got tools. He might play some.
Yeah, and if you don't mention him, then you're going to have 800 Twitter mentions just saying you got bonked. You're going to get bonked. Yeah.
He's got a lot of tools. He's got a lot of learning to do. He's got a lot of tools, but he's got a lot of learning to do.
Yeah, and at A10 Media Day last year, I called the 7-foot redshirt sophomore center for Providence, Christ Essendoko. So I just want to put it out there. So one of the 2 of us probably got close to how to pronounce his name the correct way. So 50-50 shot there. All right.